Welcome back to the program. We're glad you've stayed with us. This is the big story at a time when, of course, Kenya has lost a total of 12 rhinos. The 12th one was killed today at the Nakuru National Park, I believe. And of course, the 11 others died under mysterious circumstances at the Tsavo East National Park. In studio, still have journalist Patrick Gadara, lawyer Benson Ochieng. And now joining me by way of phone is Mordecai Ogada. Actually, it's Dr. Mordecai Ogada, is a conservationist. And Dr. let me begin with you. This is a question that I want to pose to all of you, but let me start with you. And I'd like to quote the statement by the former KWS chairman, that is Dr. Richard Leakey. This is what he had to say, that the translocation of the rhinos took place when the KWS do not have a board of directors in place. He continues saying that the previous board had been out of office for 3 months when the exercise began of translocating these rhinos in question from both Nakuru and Nairobi National Park to Tsavo. So the first question naturally is, was this move ill-advised?
Hello?
I think we've lost him there, but this is a question I'd like to hear Patrick Gadara's reaction to as well.
I think all indicators seem to point to the fact that the move itself was ill-advised, you know. But I think while this is a huge tragedy, I think we must also be careful not to just focus on the rhinos themselves. You know, this is a symptom of a much deeper problem. You know, and it's a problem that I think affects KWS that they've been struggling with. We've seen wrangles within their leadership between the board and the management. You know, we've seen events many times the tourism ministry having to intervene. You know, there's issues to do with funding, you know, as reported by The Nation, I think it was last year, in July. You know, they were saying most of their vehicles and planes were grounded, you know, last year as a result of underfunding, you know, and even this year with the Auditor General's report, he did point out that they were reduced to using some of the funds that they had been given as compensation for the land that was taken by the SGR, to using that to pay salaries rather than to do environmental improvements. So, you know, there's quite a lot of problems within KWS that we really need to focus on, because the death of the rhinos really is just a symptom of this bigger, much deeper problem.
Clearly, there are deeper problems. Before I engage Wakili Benson, I understand that I have now Dr. Mordecai Ogada with me on phone. Dr. welcome to the program. And earlier, I did have a quote for you from one of the statement, actually a statement that was made earlier last week by Dr. Richard Leakey, the former chairman of the KWS board. And this is what he had to say, that the translocation of the rhinos in question took place when KWS do not have a board of directors in place. Actually, he said that the previous board had been out of office for 3 months. So the first question is the move of translocating these animals from both Nakuru and Nairobi National Park to Tsavo East ill-advised?
Yeah, thank you, Yusuf. I think the translocation of animals and other technical things are should generally follow policy and ecological indicators. Hello?
Go on, please.
Yes. And so when you follow policy and ecological indicators, the presence or absence of board members who may or may not be specialists is sort of immaterial. And I think there Dr. Leakey again is at fault by making this and all other things sort of about him and his authority and his charisma or personal gravitas. But I think the key thing we have to look at here is the systemic problem that wildlife conservation in Kenya is now living in some sort of false economy where grant funding is equal to or more than what we get from safari tourism. So grant funding is driving the industry. So this is behind what the systemic attempt to weaken KWS, because the moment you weaken KWS, you can take over the management of species. The NGOs can take over things like rhino translocation and gain profit therefrom by handling or managing the grants that are given for that work. So I think there is a lot that Kenyans need to learn about this, and even you people in the media. When one has a chance to interview a policy leader like the minister, it's unfortunate that he's being asked personal questions rather than questions about the systemic difficulties. And I think the whole snuff with the rhinos is a symptom. I agree with the colleague who said that it's a symptom of a wider problem in the conservation sector. I think that can be solved firstly by the government fully resourcing KWS like it resources all other security and law enforcement organs, so that this vital parastatal is not at the mercy of NGOs who are keen to basically annex what is our most precious resource. And I agree with the Cabinet Secretary about the deliberate attempts to weaken KWS. Even the two positions he abolished, no one seemed to mention the fact that they are both positions paid by the Zoological Society of London and appointed unilaterally by Richard Leakey. These are the systemic problems. So if the Director General is advised by someone paid by an NGO, how then is he performing the state's mandate? So these are the issues we need to look at rather than focus on the choice of words by a cabinet secretary. And we also should look at the action he has taken rather than just focusing on what he said vis-a-vis what was going on in the sector.
Fair enough. Thanks, Dr. Mordecai, for that comment. Let me bring in now Lawyer Benson Ocheng into this. Okili, I'm sure you've heard what Dr. Mordecai there is talking about. Is there a move, a plot to discredit KWS? This is something that even the CS himself alluded to. And who do you think are behind this?
Well, clearly there is a systemic problem here. This issue, we are only talking of the board not being in place over the last 3 months. I had the privilege to serve as secretary of the task force on wildlife security in around about 2014, 2015, when we had a spike in rhino and elephant poaching. And the task force did come out with a host of recommendations, around about 200 of them. And one of the things we realized is that even before that, there was no functional board at KWS. In fact, Richard Leakey only came in around about 2015. And before that, there was a 3-year hiatus when there was no board at all, there was no system in place, and there were all the economic, social, and political issues that are arising or coming into the fore now. And I think we
much
economic
up
but But
the law